Hey there, self-advocates. It's Janice. I was asked to record a video to talk about accessibility. And I want to start a conversation today in our 12 days of self-advocacy about this topic. Before we get started, I want to tee off a couple of thoughts that I think will help us as we approach this discussion. One is right now, as you all know, there are lots of conversations happening about diversity and inclusion. And diversity and inclusion go hand in hand with the issue of accessibility. Because if we want to be what they call a diverse society and one that is welcoming, then we need to welcome people with disabilities and treat them as equals. Another thing, the issue of inclusion, speaks directly to accessibility. If we want to be inclusive, that means we have to think about how we approach what we do so that everyone can have access to it. So when we think about accessibility, we're thinking about inclusion. And a lot of times that requires forethought or foresight and planning. So a couple of thoughts. If we're talking about accessibility and inclusion, one of the things that we need to think about, I think, as self-advocates is that not everyone is faced with the challenges that people with disabilities are. And part of our role as self-advocates is to bring those issues to their attention. So, if you can't get into a facility because the transition between the door and the outside has a bump, and your wheelchair can't navigate it, you need to make sure that you are reaching out to the right people to let them know that the building isn't accessible for you. And you can't just tell the person maybe at the door or at the check-in desk. You need to tell the building manager. You need to reach out to maybe the owners of the building. You need to reach out to the people who have businesses in that building. You need to talk to them about the challenge that you face, because if they're not in your shoes, they may not recognize it as a challenge, right? Same goes for information. If you are someone, say, with a visual disability, you might have low vision, or maybe you don't have any sight at all. Are you going to be able to work on a computer screen? Yes, you can, if you have the right tools. But right now, most websites are not set up to be accessible to people with a low vision issue so that they can actually use a device like a phone or an iPad or even a desktop computer. So we need to make sure that businesses and organizations are thinking about how they design their websites to make them accessible to people. The Montgomery County Board of DD has a set of tools that we launched this summer that make our website accessible, more accessible to people. And I would be happy to show you those once we get into our discussion. But it's important to know those tools exist, and companies and organizations need to become aware of them, first of all, because most of them probably don't know that they're out there. And then once they are aware of them, what they're going to need to do is raise money to to purchase them so that they can be placed on their website. So a big part of accessibility is making people aware of the problem, right? Making them put themselves in your shoes, in the shoes of someone with a disability. And then it's informing them about ways they can make their information or their location accessible. Then from there, they can develop a plan to make that happen. So I want all of us to be thinking, if we could, about accessibility and inclusion from the standpoint of making people aware, informing them of things they can do, and then helping them develop a plan. As a self-advocate, you can help them. You can offer to help them develop a plan to make their site accessible. Wouldn't it be great? You could serve as a test user for an organization that is going to be updating its website with accessibility tools. So before we went ahead and did our website update, we reached out to a number of people who received services from the board, and we watched how they interacted with our website, and we asked them questions, and we asked them, what could we do to make our website better so that you could get the information you need? And we took notes. We listened to what they said, and we took notes. And then we went out and we became informed. We researched what was out there that we could do to make our site accessible. And then we developed a plan to make that accessible. So as self-advocates, one of the most important things you can do is, number one, let people know that things aren't accessible to you. And then number two, let them know what kinds of things they can do to address that problem. And I know that it's easy to get mad, but my grandmother used to say, you catch more flies with honey. And what she meant by that was, if you come into a situation and you're storming in and you're angry, are people going to want to work with you? No. But if you come in and you point out the problem, and then you offer to work with them as a resource, and you offer suggestions, people are much more likely to work with you. Now, the Americans with Disabilities Act does mandate a certain level of what they say is compliance for accessibility, but unfortunately, it doesn't require everyone yet to make their websites accessible, to make the transitions between the outdoors and the indoors or door frames accessible, or even between rooms. It doesn't require every building to have automatic door opener buttons. You know, those things aren't in place, but if we talk to people about the challenges, we can make a big difference. I wanted to ask, how many of you know someone who uses a power chair? And have you ever walked across a busy street with them? I did that a while back, and when I did it, I noticed that when we pressed the button to cross the street at the crosswalk, and it was our turn to cross, there weren't enough seconds to allow the person I was with to cross the street safely. So that person and I talked to the Montgomery County Engineer's Office. We happened to be in downtown Dayton, and reached out to them and said, what can we do about the traffic crossing? There wasn't enough time for us to cross safely with a power chair. And they told us that all you have to do is call them, Or, you know, it, if you're in Clayton or you're in Centerville or you're in another community, you may have to call the city. But you can call and ask them to adjust the time on the crosswalks to be longer if you know you are going to be using them. And they will do that for you. But you know what? If we hadn't asked that question, they never would have known that the crosswalk times needed to be lengthened. And we would have had to continue to try to rush across and put ourselves in a dangerous situation. So when you notice something, let people know about it, right? Let them know, offer suggestions and solutions, offer to be part of the solution by being a resource to them. You know, you can test things on me, or I can be on your advisory committee. I'd be happy to share ideas with you. All of those are things you can do that are positive, that can help address issues. And then they look to you as the expert, because every single one of you is experts when it comes to the topic of disability. And we want people to recognize you for the experts that you are. So I'm going to wrap it up right here, and I'm going to kick off a conversation with Miss Tammy and Miss Chelsea. And I'd really like you guys to dig into this topic, because you know about so many things where you've encountered problems with accessibility and also problems with inclusion. So, you know, if you go to, say, the library and they're having a book group, and the book group, you know, isn't something you can participate in because it's not inclusive, then you need to let the library know, I'd like to be part of your book group, but it's not set up so that I can be part of it. How can we do that? At any rate, thanks for listening. I appreciate it, and I look forward to our conversation on this topic. I know you guys are going to lead a great conversation and do a lot of brainstorming and things that will help make everyone's lives better. Thanks.